Hello. Hi, Andrea. How are you? Thanks for joining the stream, buddy. Are you okay? Your nose is fine?
This is Mark Andreessen, who's a multi-billionaire, I believe, investor in the tech bro world, and he said this.
You don't have any levels of introspection.
Yes, zero. As little as possible.
Why?
Move forward. Go.
This is not a coincidence, okay? I mean, this is not a random incidence, a random fact. Okay, this guy happens to be a billionaire and has no self-reflection at all, and he just keeps moving forward like that. It's not randomness at play. It's a design. मेरे माइक से weird आवाज आ रही है मेरी. Is it the fan? Hold on. कैसे सुन के देखूं मैं? Oh, I can watch my own stream. Oh. Oh. Okay, I'll fix it. I don't know how. क्या हाल है हर्ष? Thanks for joining stream, buddy. अभी कैसे आ रही है? Is it just as bad or is it a little bit better? Maybe I can check. Maybe I can check. Maybe I can check. Okay, I did 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 check. Moving on. So this is not a coincidence. Okay, this guy happens to be sort of a psychopath and ultra successful. That's a prerequisite.
Yeah, I don't know. I've found people who dwell in the past get stuck in the past. It's a real problem, and it's a problem at work and it's a problem at home.
So I've read obviously 400, I think now 10 biographies of history-based entrepreneurs, and that was one of the most surprising things. Like, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned from this? So like, oh, they have little or zero introspection. Like Sam Walton didn't wake up thinking about his internal self. He just woke up like, I like building Walmart. I'm going to keep building Walmart. I'm going to make more Walmarts. And just kept doing it over and over again.
And you probably know if you go back like, before 100 years ago, it never would have occurred to anybody to be introspective. Like it's the whole idea of, I mean,
That's absolutely not true. Oh my god, that is so stupid. How can you be so rich, so successful, and so stupid at the same time? Here's how.
all of the modern conceptions around introspection and therapy and all the things that kind of result from that are, kind of manufactured in the 1910s, 1920s.
But once again, you don't care because you are so wrong. But at the same time, you're wrong about your own philosophy, which is that introspection is something absolutely stupid. So no wonder you're never corrected on that, or you don't care about that.
Say more about that. Great men of history didn't sit around doing this stuff at any prior point, right? It's all.
Yeah, like Plato and stuff. They didn't introspect at all.
It's all a new construct. It was well, the first Western civilization had to kind of invent the concept of the individual, right, which was like a new concept, so 100 years ago, and then for a long time it was the individual runs, right, and like does all these things and builds things and builds empires and builds companies and builds technology, does all these things, and then kind of this kind of guilt-based whammy, kind of showed up from Europe, a lot of it from Vienna, 1910s, 1920s, Freud and all that entire movement, and kind of turned all that inward and basically said, okay, now we need to
Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining the stream. I don't think I've ever heard someone so successful. मुझे पता नहीं who this person is, कितना successful है नहीं है. But I don't think I've ever seen someone so successful say something so stupid. Maybe I have. A lot of successful people say a lot of stupid things.
Basically second guess the individual. We need to criticize the individual. The individual needs to self-criticize, right? The individual needs to feel guilt, needs to look backwards, needs to dwell on the past. It never resonated with me.
Itna speed mein gas banta. I'm sorry.
Just so you know what goes through my soul when I see a clip like that. It's like Mark Andreessen, billionaire, investor, incredibly intelligent, objectively intelligent. Oh, he's dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. You spend too much time online. You don't know the meaning of words. He's not dumb. He's the opposite of dumb, which is what makes...
He's a retard. But I get what he's saying.
It's so frightening. is like, are you kidding me? I was thinking Marcus Aurelius the whole time. I'm glad somebody fucking popped it up here in the replies. It's like, are you insane? Are you mentally insane? Move forward, go. I mean, this is, look, I was doing some reflection
Not too bad. Thanks for asking.
over the past couple weeks about, how often I call people autistic. And I did come to the conclusion that I don't do it enough because I don't know how to tell you that stop calling this dumb when this is autism.
Introspection.
Yes, zero, as little as possible.
Why?
Move forward. Go.
Someone pointed
Is it autism or is it just psychopathy? Wait, hold on. Let's see. A lifelong development condition affecting how people perceive the world, communicate, and interact with others. Okay. And psychopathy is a blanket term, right? A personality disorder characterized by a lack of empathy, remorselessness, shallow emotions, and superficial charm, combined with persistent antisocial, impulsive, and manipulative behaviors. I think it's psychopathy. It's not autism. It's psychopathy. It's a doctor, but doctors don't know shit, trust me.
out that this mentality is exactly the same as Jeff Bezos in this clip. After returning from a trip to space, William Shatner was trying to share his emotional, heartfelt reaction to the trip.
And you can see already on his face.
And being the hyper-materialist, low self-awareness tech billionaire he is, Bezos just ignored him because girls and champagne.
Oh my God. Give me the champagne bottle. Come here. I want one.
Oh my God. That's why these guys are not happy. That's why none of these people are happy. So, okay, I'm going to tell you how the world works. All right, guys? Write some notes. You have to be a psychopath to get ahead in these fields, in almost any fields. If you have to get on at the ultra top, you have to be kind of a psychopath, right? Because by design, जैसे मैं बता रहा हूँ, everyone at the top happens to be a what? Psychopath. Because you have to be that to get to the top, right? Now, everyone at the top are psychopaths, right? Which means they also hate each other, and also they're not happy in themselves. So even at the top, when they're all at the top, they always want to keep climbing. उस वजह से when they meet their matches, they do the horrible things that happens in the world. This is the simplest explanation why there's shit like wars, why there's all this shit. This is the simplest explanation, and I think it's true. So fuck it.
I want to hear this. Here.
इसमें you need to add the general disregard of the common human being. General disregard of people at the top. General disregard of people's empathy, people's intelligence.
You want a little of this? Okay.
The champagne
Wow, look at this man.
showers have begun.
Anyway, I thought that was insane. Actually, I didn't even plan for this, but here's the opposite. Real quick, I will say, commentary-wise, Jordan Peterson speaks about depression and anxiety are when you think about yourself. And I think that's true. I think when you're in flow state, you actually lose your sense of self. However, introspection is not the same as...
So, जैसे हम कल राधियाना से बात करते थे, when you think about yourself more, you get more anxious, you get more depressed. When your thinking is pointed towards yourself, but there are differences in thinking about yourself as well. इससे अच्छा पार्ट ही कर लो. What?
Like, it's not the same as in the moment focusing your attention on yourself. That's like if you're in a social setting and all you're thinking about is yourself and
So
how
thinking about yourself and self-awareness, there's a difference, right?
other people perceive you. That's anxiety. Whereas if you're in a social setting and you're super engaged and you're listening to a conversation, or engaged in a conversation, or you're playing a game, then you don't have anxiety. You have engagement. You're in flow state. But this is just complete nonsense because you can introspect, meaning evaluate how you think and how your mind works and why you are the way you are. But on the flip side of this, Hugh Hefner explains why he started Playboy magazine. I learned.
वो बंदा अपसेट हो गया ना, उसको बोलने ही नहीं दिया. Not कि उसको बोलने नहीं दिया. He was actually expressing something. मुझे पता नहीं, मैंने वो वीडियो देखी नहीं, but based on the context that it's received from this video, he was expressing some emotional shit because they just they went to space and came back. So he must have had a real emotional journey. उसको वो express करने की कोशिश कर रहा था, but Jeff Bezos, hey, लड़की, champagne, right? So it's not कि उसको बोलने नहीं दिया. It's like what he was saying. He was actually being vulnerable there.
Into my marriage, virgin, in the sense that
What?
You think and how your mind works and why you are the way you are. But on the flip side of this, Hugh Hefner explains why he started Playboy magazine.
I went into my marriage virgin, in the sense that I had slept with only one person before in my life, the woman that I then married. Right after I was engaged, my wife-to-be had an affair and told me about it just a short time before the wedding. That, in combination with the Puritan background, had a dramatic impact on me. And I am absolutely certain that a part of what lay behind the establishment of Playboy was a throwing off the chains of personal hurt and indignity, and simultaneous with that, a quest for some better way.
If I were to outline the fundamental laws of dark centrism, near the top, who someone is as an adult is a direct, inescapable, fundamental result of who they were in childhood and how their childhood was. Case in point, I didn't even prepare this, but let's do it because people need to be reminded. Let's pull up Jeffrey Epstein's #1 doctor. He was...
इतना पैसा इसलिए तो कमाया है शैम्पेन और गर्ल्स नहीं जिस वजह से पैसा कमाया है उसका एक बाय प्रोडक्ट है him being emotionally retarded and being more focused on champagne and girls.
In Epstein files, I think he was emailing Jeffrey Epstein and making lewd comments, which, as we all know, adult males never do.
But I'll tell you what I've learned. I've learned that most people probably have some degree of unresolved business in their childhood.
Okay, I know it's but I gotta make this clear because it's important. Because people think you have to be rich. Okay. How do you fucking type success? Is this how? Or is there 3 S's? Just kidding. Okay. And okay. So what I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make is, where the fuck is my cursor, dude? Like, how do I move this shit? How the fuck do I move this shit? What? I need a pen tablet or something, dude. How the V, Saiga? No, it's not working. There you go. Sorry. Uh-oh. Wow, this is horrible. This is horrible. So, the point I'm making is, this is where most people lie. Okay? But it also goes like this. It also goes like this. It's not as simple. Because it's difficult for me to draw it out with the mouse and everything. But I'm oversimplifying it extremely. But यहाँ पर जो top के लोग हैं, your Trump, your Epsteins, your who else, like anyone, Elon Musk, जो भी बड़े से बड़े लोग हैं, right? यहाँ पर their emotional awareness is almost zero. Right? That's why I'm calling them psychopaths. And then there are people all over here, and they have like some emotional awareness. Okay? Does that make sense? Wait, there's a better. Oh my god, I'm a fucking retard. There's so much. There's such a better way of doing the same thing. Yeah. So, your wealth, or wealth से मेरा मतलब basically material success, okay? I don't give a shit. And your emos, okay? It goes something like this. Does it make sense? That's what I'm saying. So in order to be this, you also have to have this level of emotional awareness. You cannot have emotional awareness like this and be wealthy, because all the things that you have to do to get to this point, this won't allow you. इतनी emotional awareness जो तुम्हारी अगर होगी, जो ये emotional awareness है, ये तुमको allow नहीं करेगी वो सारी चीज़ें करने के लिए जिसमें तुमको यहाँ पर आना आएगा, जो तुमको यहाँ तक पहुँचाती है. So in order to be extremely wealthy, you have to do horrible things which this kind of emotional awareness will not allow you to do. So automatically you have to be somewhere here. in order to be extremely wealthy. And the further you go, the less emotional awareness you have. Hence, you become a psychopath. That's what I mean. So, hello, Paul. Kya hai? So, what gets you to the point? To the wealth. Not wealth, material success. Not wealth. मैंने ये छोटे में लिखा है. मतलब shorthand. I was just shorthanding it. To the material success. So that's why you get all these top people, and that's why they are psychopaths. Does it make sense now? What I just said. I hope it did. So that's the idea. Anyways.
That has produced adaptations. And in some cases, many of those adaptations are very good, but some of those adaptations are negative.
By the way, this is my most popular Substack article I've ever written, analyzing the childhood trauma of major political influencers. I like PF Chang's message, but the whole extremism is due to trauma. He's the biggest California pop psychology actor bullshit I've ever heard in my life. I pity you. I pity you. Oi de kun. Anyway, we picked 3 of them. We'll just do Ben Shapiro. I mean, I don't know who needs to be convinced of this. I don't like Ben Shapiro. I believe he's more loyal to Israel than the United States. I think he's an agent of Israel. I think the Daily Wire is Israeli propaganda. I think he's getting Americans killed. I think he's a Jewish supremacist. I think he thinks the lives of Arabs don't matter as much as the lives of Jews. I think all of those things. However, Ben Shapiro's a human being. So I cannot help, and I guess I'm too late into this to avoid this, but whatever, I don't care. This can very easily be perceived as I'm trying to use this against...
Like, even think of Ben Shapiro. What is the most popular Ben Shapiro line? Facts don't care about your feelings. He is ultra wealthy, right? What is the most popular line? Facts don't care about your feelings. Okay. क्या है हार्डी? Thanks for joining, buddy. इतना पैसे कमाते हुए इमोशनल अवेयरनेस खत्म ही हो गई होगी ना? नहीं. When you're born with a level of personality coded into you. उसके बाद तुम्हारे nurture में जो बाकी personality होती है solidify हो जाती है with your experiences. तो if you are here, again, this is not just emotional awareness, right? There's things like empathy, there's things like sympathy. तो वो सारी चीज़ें, emotional awareness is an umbrella term for that. जैसे कि मैं कह रहा हूँ, in order to move forward in this area, you have to... This is a horrible color. In order to move forward, in order to move forward in this area, to make more and more money, right? You have to do things जो इंसान की इस लेवल की इमोशनल अवेयरनेस है वो कर ही नहीं सकता to other people, right? So that's why it's inversely proportional. In order to make the most money, you have to rip people off, you have to con people, you have to scam people, you have to do these things. And if you have emotional awareness, you will be in a constant struggle with yourself. और वो जो तुम्हारा forward going momentum है उसको रोकेगी, it will curb your success. So, but if you don't have that issue, okay, fuck it, I just want to make as much money as possible, तो तुम अपने आप को रोक नहीं रहे अंदर से बार-बार. So you just keep going, fuck it. Like that's exactly what the guy in the beginning said.
Ben Shapiro.
That's exactly जो हमने example देखा भी Jeff Bezos का.
Rather, I'm trying to illustrate the fundamental point that hurt people. And you have to understand that every person you're engaging with, if they're an adult, is the result of their own childhood trauma. Here's Ben Shapiro as a child.
Among kids, obviously. And among people generally, but it is very strong among teenagers.
So you spent 2 years in high school then, essentially, right? Or
3 years. So
in
yeah, 10, 11, 12.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were the outsider the whole time?
Yeah.
What were people saying or doing to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was the outsider the whole time for sure. I mean, I would be physically accosted. There was one situation where I was on. There was kind of a weekend getaway, and there was one situation where guys legitimately like held me down on the bed, hit me with belts.
No way.
Yeah, there was a situation where, and then that concluded with them like somebody brought one pair of handcuffs. They dragged the bed frame outside the cabin and then handcuffed me to the bed frame in front of like the entire school. So yeah,
No way.
yeah, it was good times.
So I know we're recalling things, but I mean everyone who's relatively experienced.
आप react कर रहे हो. Yes. But this is not reaction. This is more of a like I'm doing reaction. This guy is not just doing reaction. He's doing more of an analysis. I'm just reacting and speaking my thoughts, right?
Experienced in life. He's aware of the phenomenon where you're talking to someone, they tell you.
So by the way, back to what I said. You understood what I was making, the point I was making here? In order to do things to get extremely wealthy, you have to have extremely low emotional awareness. फिर चाहे वो अपने आप को लेके हो, बाकी लोगों को लेके हो, it's linked anyways because we on some level we understand there's no difference between me and you. And then you listen to this billionaire say things like this, so it makes sense.
Billionaire, I believe, investor in the tech bro world, and he said this.
You don't have any levels of introspection.
Yes, 0, as little as possible.
Why?
Move forward. Go. Yeah, I don't know. I found people who dwell on the past get stuck in the past. It's a real problem, and it's a problem at work and it's a problem at home.
And the issue is, young people would listen to it and like, yes, we should do that, right? And most people are where? Most people are somewhere here, right? So that's why most people are not extremely wealthy. उसके पीछे mathematics भी है, that's a different thing. But most people, young people, would listen to that and like, it just makes sense, but it doesn't. It sounds practical, but it's not. It sounds good, but it's not. मैं तो थकी हूँ बहुत. अरे.
So I've read obviously 400, and I think now 10 biographies of history space entrepreneurs, and that was one of the most surprising things. Like, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned from this? So like, oh, they have little or zero introspection. Like Sam Walton didn't wake up thinking about his.
So that's what he's talking about. All these billionaires or like the ultra rich, they have little to zero introspection. So, anyways, that's very interesting. And yeah, what people always miss, what people constantly miss, because they see all the champagne and the girls and the shit, what they constantly miss is they are also not happy. All of these people are also not happy. So you can see them doing different things in order to be happy. And in doing those things, they do horrible things. And we have seen quite a bit of evidence of that lately, right? क्या फायदा फिर इतना रिच होने का? Because who told you getting rich would make you happy? Who told you? Who said that? We all just had it in our minds. Who said that? Why do we all have it in our minds? Because, like I said, to get ultra material success, you have to be a psychopath. So all the people who become elites are psychopaths. They are in the control, and it's not a guideline for life, right? Also, it's not really. I mean, it's a good way to put a lot of people in a box, but yeah, it's not much more than that. Shouldn't the rich people be more happy? And think about that. When you are happy, what do you want to do? You want to share that happiness. When you get good news, you want to share that good news. Generally, क्या होता है कि we are also afraid of the reaction, so a lot of the times we don't do it. We curb ourselves, but we want to share that good news. When we are sad, when we are horrible, and we see someone very happy, even that irritates us. So we share what we have within us. Look at the state of the world, and from that, make a conclusion what the people in control, what is their inner world like. It's not that difficult of a leap. Yeah. Anyways.
So hey guys, न्यूज़ बॉलीवुड सबसे पहले हम लोग बात करेंगे
मतलब सेम डे स्ट्रीम और वॉच पार्टी इज़ नॉट अ गुड आइडिया. मैं तो कुछ कहना चाहती हूँ, भले मैं अल्ट्रा रिच ना बनूँ. ओके, दैट्स बेटर देन, in my opinion it is.
हार्दिक पांड्या के बारे में. तो हार्दिक पांड्या को अभी थोड़ा ट्रोल किया जा रहा है. क्यों? बीसीसीआई के एनुअल अवार्ड्स के दौरान जब हार्दिक पांड्या से पूछा गया कि उनके आइडल कौन है, तो वो रिप्लाई देते हैं वसीम जफर. बट प्रीवियस इंटरव्यूज में हार्दिक पांड्या अपना आइडल बताते थे इरफान पठान को. तो इस वजह से उनको ट्रोल किया जा रहा है ना. जैसे एक जन लिखे थे उन्होंने दूसरा नाम लिया.
हाँ, नॉट अ गुड आइडिया. व्हाट डू यू मीन नॉट अ गुड आइडिया? अच्छा, स्ट्रीम और वॉच पार्टी ना. हाँ, एग्जैक्टली. आई एम टायर्ड टू.
तूफान और एक और यूजर लिखते हैं ये 2030 में अपने आप को ही आइडल बताएगा.
क्या हाल है हर्षिता? थैंक्स फॉर जॉइनिंग स्ट्रीम. मैं तो खुश हूँ ऑलरेडी. ओके,
तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते चुकी है. 2 चोर का चोरी अटेम्प्ट गॉन रॉन्ग के बारे में. एक वीडियो वायरल हो रहा है. 2 चोर एक घर के अंदर घुस रहे होते हैं, ठीक है. उनका प्लान था लाइट्स ऑफ करके एंटर करने का.
बट हु द फक इज दिस गाय जो बाहर निकल रहा है घर से बाहर निकल रहा है? कहाँ से निकल रहा है?
लिखते हैं ये 2030 में अपने आप को ही आइडल बताएगा. तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते चुकी है.
ये कौन है जो बाहर निकल रहा है यहाँ से? अगर ये चोर है, मास्क लगा के अंदर जा रहे हैं.
2 चोर का चोरी अटेम्प्ट गॉन रॉन्ग के बारे में. एक वीडियो वायरल जा रहा है जहाँ 2 चोर एक घर के अंदर घुस रहे होते हैं, ठीक है. उनका प्लान था लाइट्स ऑफ करके एंटर करने का. बट रिंगिंग डोरबेल को वो लाइट्स का स्विच सोच के दबा देते हैं. इसके बाद होना क्या है, डोरबेल बज गया एंड जो चोर है वो भाग जाते हैं. तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते चुकी है. एक शॉकिंग न्यूज के बारे में जो कि है बेंगलुरु से. एक फैमिली एक बड़ा सा पैकेज लेके कुरियर सर्विस ऑफिस पहुंच जाते हैं. 4 जन गए थे, एक वुमन, उसके हस्बैंड, मदर इन लॉ एंड ब्रदर इन लॉ. बेसिकली जो बड़ा सा पैकेज वो ले गए थे उसको कुरियर करना चाहते थे कहीं पे. और क्योंकि जो पैकेज है वो बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा था, तो जो कुरियर ऑफिस के जो स्टाफ थे उन्होंने फैमिली से पूछा कि अंदर क्या है, जिस पर वो चुप रहे. जब वो चुप रहे, आंसर नहीं दे सके, तो जो स्टाफ थे वो उस पैकेज को खोलते हैं एंड देखते हैं कि उसके उसके अंदर एक आदमी आया ना कि कोई सामान, एंड वो आदमी कौन थे? जो वुमन पैकेज ले गई थी, उसके फादर। भाई उनको बोरे में भर के ले गए थे, जिस वजह से उनको सांस लेने में भी दिक्कत हो रहा था। वैसे वो फैमिली ने क्यों किया? रील के चक्कर में। और जो बस के टिकट्स के प्राइस इस फेस्टिव सीजन में इतना हाई हो रखा है, सोल्ड आउट हो रखा है, उसको हाईलाइट करने के लिए। रमजान उगाड़ी का टाइम चल रहा है, जिस वजह से जो बस के टिकट्स के प्राइसेस है वो बढ़ गया है ना वहाँ, तो इसी चीज को हाईलाइट करने के लिए और रील बनाने के लिए वो एक आदमी को बोरे में भर के ले गए। बेसिकली वो रील के थ्रू ये दिखाना चाहते थे कि एक आदमी को कुरियर करके अगर भेजा जाए तो वो सस्ता पड़ता है, बस से अगर ट्रैवल करके जाओ तो वो महंगा। खैर इस मामले में जो कुरियर सर्विस वाले थे उन्होंने पुलिस को इन्फॉर्म किया, पुलिस वहाँ पहुंचे, फैमिली को पुलिस स्टेशन ले गए। वहाँ फिर जो फैमिली मेंबर्स वो एक अपॉलॉजी वीडियो रिकॉर्ड करते हैं, देन फिर पुलिस वार्निंग देके उनको भेजती है कि फ्यूचर में ऐसा कुछ मत करना। तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते हैं। नोरा फतेही का न्यू सॉन्ग।
I don't want to say fucking shit about this, okay? I don't want to say shit about this. सोनू सूद की मूवी की कास्टिंग हो रही थी. What?
सर के चुनर सर के बारे में, जिसके लिरिक्स को लेकर कंट्रोवर्सी चल रहा है, आपको पता होगा, जिसके बारे में मैं ऑलरेडी
हाँ पढ़ के भी सुनाया था न्यूज बॉय ने।
समन भेजे, जिसके बाद इस म्यूजिक वीडियो को लेकर बता दूं इंडिया की कई जगह में एफआईआर दर्ज हुए, एनसीडब्ल्यू यानी नेशनल कमीशन फॉर वुमेन भी समन भेजे, जिसके बाद इस म्यूजिक वीडियो को हटा दिया गया। तो फाइनली ये जो कंट्रोवर्सी चल रहा है इसके ऊपर नोरा फतेही रिएक्ट की। वो कही मैंने ये सॉन्ग 3 साल पहले कन्नड़ा में शूट किया था। जब मैंने ये गाना किया तो मैंने इसलिए हाँ बोला क्योंकि ये एक बड़ी फिल्म का पार्ट था जिसमें संजय दत्त भी थे, उनके साथ काम करने को कौन मना करेगा। मुझे लगा ये नायक नहीं खलनायक हूं मैं का रीमेक है। जब इस गाने को ट्रांसलेट किया गया मुझे कुछ भी इनएप्रोप्रिएट या वल्गर नहीं लगा, क्योंकि मुझे कन्नड़ा समझ नहीं आता, तो जो उन्होंने मुझे ट्रांसलेट किया मैं उसको बिलीव कर ली। लेकिन जो उन्होंने किया है अभी हिंदी में डबिंग एंड लिरिक्स, उसके लिए उन्होंने मुझसे कोई परमिशन या अप्रूवल नहीं लिया। मुझे इसके
This is generally not a good look. क्योंकि this is what happens when you're making a film, you are basically a team, ठीक है? डायरेक्टर से लेके प्रोड्यूसर से लेके एक्टर से लेके जो पूरी कास्ट है, जो पूरा क्रू है, all of you are a team, right? But the moment something bad happens, you're like, oh उसने करा, मुझे तो पता ही नहीं था. So yeah, that's not good. Okay? गया इसका करियर. Nah, I don't think so.
के बारे में बिल्कुल आइडिया नहीं था। जब मैं इस म्यूजिक वीडियो के लॉन्च में गई, जब मैंने कन्नड़ा वर्जन देखा, तो मुझे जो मेजर इशू लगा वो ये था कि उन्होंने मेरा अनफ्लैटरिंग फोटोज यूज किया था लिरिकल वीडियो में। उन्होंने मेरा और संजय दत्त का एआई फोटो भी यूज किया था। ये सब देखकर मैं काफी इरिटेट हो गई थी, लेकिन मैंने अपना काम मेंटेन किया। जो मैंने देखा उससे मैं काफी कन्फ्लिक्टेड थी। जब मैंने हिंदी वर्जन देखा मुझे पता था कि
इसको सॉन्ग क्यों मिलता है, भूल गई है क्या?
पर बैकलैश आएगा। मैंने डायरेक्टर को क्लियरली बोला कि ये ठीक नहीं है और मैंने खुद को इस प्रोजेक्ट से अलग कर लिया। मैंने इसे कहीं भी प्रमोट नहीं किया। मैंने डायरेक्टर से कहा कि मेरी इमेज और रेप्यूटेशन दांव पर है। फिर वो कहती है हम आर्टिस्ट के साथ प्रॉब्लम ये होती है कि हमारे पास ज्यादा पावर नहीं होती, बहुत लिमिटेड कंट्रोल होता है। थैंकफुली बॉलीवुड में काफी लोगों ने मेरे काम को रिस्पेक्ट दिया है, लेकिन कुछ इंडस्ट्रीज ऐसी भी है जहां मेरी ओपिनियन की कोई वैल्यू नहीं होती। पर बैकलैश की वजह से उन्हें इसे हटाना पड़ा और मैं इसके लिए थैंकफुल हूं। फिर वो कहती है ऐसे फिल्म मेकर्स और प्रोड्यूसर्स को रिस्पांसिबल ठहराया जाना चाहिए जब वो ऐसे कंटेंट बनाते हैं। सिर्फ हमारा नाम यूज मत करो क्योंकि हमारे पास इतनी पावर नहीं होती, उन्हें अकाउंटेबल बनाओ। मैं आगे से और ज्यादा केयरफुल और स्ट्रिक्ट रहूंगी। बैकलैश के लिए थैंक यू। और जो एक लंबा सा कैप्शन भी लिखी है ना, अगर आप पढ़ना चाहते हो आप पॉज करके रीड कर सकते हो। तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते चुकी है। उत्तर प्रदेश मिर्जापुर के ये रोड के बारे में। रोड के बीच में आप देख सकते हो एक हैंड पंप है। रिसेंटली ही बना ये रोड है। सोच सकते हो क्या देख लिया भाई, ये हैंड पंप को रिमूव नहीं कर सकते थे या वो बीच सड़क में हैंड पंप है। सोचो यहाँ रात में एक्सीडेंट होने के चांसेस कितना ज्यादा है। काफी सारे लोग बता दो इसको क्रिटिसाइज
ये एक्सीडेंट क्यों भाई? न्यूज़ बॉय इतना सेंसरशिप यार
कर रहे हैं, काफी सारे लोग ट्रोल भी कर रहे हैं। जैसे एक जन लिखी ली सनी देओल को बुलाओ, अथॉरिटी से नहीं हो पाएगा। नेक्स्ट न्यूज़ से पहले गाइस जिन्होंने
पिंक हैंड पंप, ट्रू, दैट इज मोर न्यूज़वर्दी थिंग फॉर मी।
चैनल को सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया, सब्सक्राइब जरूर से कर देना। 1.4 मिलियन सब्सक्राइबर्स होने ही वाले हैं। थक गया हूं भाई, बता के कर दो। मैं भी चुप हो जाऊंगा, फिर कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा। तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते हैं। ये वायरल ये बता दूं ऑस्कर वेन्यू है, ठीक है, जहां ऑस्कर हुआ था इस साल। एंड देख सकते हो कितना गंदा हो रखा है वहां। इसी को शेयर करते हुए एक जन लिखते हैं नो सिविक सेंस, ऑस्कर वेन्यू लेफ्ट लिटर्ड आफ्टर द अवार्ड, और इस लो सिविक सेंस रिजर्व फॉर इंडियंस। बेसिकली इस पोस्ट में क्रिटिसाइज किया गया है ना कि ऑस्कर वेन्यू इतना गंदा हो रखा है अवार्ड फंक्शन के बाद।
इंडियन से इतने इनसिक्योर क्यों है भाई हम लोग? हम हकते हैं, हम बहुत हकते हैं। इसका मतलब ये नहीं है जहाँ किसी और की हगास दिख जाए तो देखो तूने भी तो हो गया। अरे अपनी हगास कम करो यार, फकिंग इडियट्स।
बट फिर भी इससे रिलेटेड पोस्ट वगैरह ज्यादा वायरल नहीं जा रहे। अगर यही सेम चीज इंडिया में हुआ होता तो ये चीज काफी ज्यादा वायरल होता, काफी सारे लोग क्रिटिसाइज करते, ट्रोल।
न्यूज़ बॉय यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस, You only talk about popular things. What are you talking about?
तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते हैं, जो कि ध्रुव राठी के बारे में। तो आम आदमी पार्टी के एक इवेंट के दौरान गोवा में ध्रुव राठी का वीडियो को दिखाया गया। yes, जैसे कि आप देख सकते हो आम आदमी पार्टी गोवा ने खुद ये पोस्ट किया है, जिसके कैप्शन उन्होंने लिखा हुआ है आम आदमी पार्टी के नेशनल कन्वीनर अरविंद केजरीवाल ने स्टेट लीडर्स के साथ मिलकर यूट्यूबर ध्रुव राठी की वीडियो देखी, जिसमें आम आदमी पार्टी को डिफेम करने वाली बिगेस्ट कॉन्स्पिरेसी ऑफ इंडिया के बारे में बताया गया है। तो चलिए
Like I get it तुम क्यों करना चाह रहे हो, बट बेवकूफो you are not meeting the allegations now ever. Like ध्रुव को ऑलरेडी आम आदमी पार्टी का वो बोलते हैं भाई। क्यों भाई कुएं में कूदोगे अगर वो भी कूदेगा? एग्जैक्टली। वैसे इससे याद आ गया, पार्थ भी बोल रहा था ना पेरिस अच्छी जगह नहीं है। हाँ नहीं।
चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते हैं, जो कि एक रोबोट के बारे में जो बौखला गया। सही सुने हो भाई, एक चाइनीज रेस्टोरेंट जो कि यूएसए के कैलिफोर्निया में, वहाँ का एक रोबोट स्टाफ बौखला गया। बेसिकली जो रोबोट है वो मेल फंक्शन कर गया। वो
ये हमने कल भी देखा था ना, एक जगह एक रोबोट चाइना का डरा रहा था एक लेडी को, उसको पकड़ के ले गए थे पुलिस वाले।
डांस करने लग जाता है, जिसके बाद रेस्टोरेंट के 3 एम्प्लॉइज आके उसको रोकने की कोशिश करते हैं, बट वो नहीं रुकता, उल्टा उनसे लड़ने लग जाता है, जिस वजह से जो प्लेट्स वगैरह वहाँ थे वो भी टूट जाते हैं ना। ऊपर से कस्टमर्स भी डर गए थे कहीं हमें ना हमला कर दिए। कल मैंने न्यूज दिया था एक रोबोट को चाइना में अरेस्ट कर लिया गया था। अभी न्यूज दे रहा हूँ बौखला गया रोबोट। अभी पता नहीं फ्यूचर में रोबोट से रिलेटेड और क्या क्या देखने को मिलेंगे। तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे बारे में बात करते चूकी है MS धोनी के बारे में। तो
Is this the beginning of the breakdown of the AI bubble? Like, are people gonna now start understanding? Oh, wait. This intelligence is not intelligence. Robot you have seen coming. मेरे भाई के लिए कुछ नहीं.
तो क्या MS धोनी का जर्सी नंबर चेंज होने वाला है? उनका फेमस जर्सी नंबर 7 आप सबको पता होगा। क्या अब MS धोनी का जर्सी नंबर 7 से 8 होगा? क्योंकि कल MS धोनी अपने फेसबुक पर ये पोस्ट किए थे, जहां उनके नंबर 7 वाले जर्सी को रिप्लेस करके नंबर 8 वाला जर्सी लगा दिया जाता है। एंड कैप्शन में MS धोनी लिखा है, कुछ नंबर्स आपके साथ रह जाते हैं, 7 उनमें से एक रहा है, लेकिन आज मैं 8 चूज कर रहा हूँ। जल्दी आपको पता चल जाएगा क्यों। इसके ऊपर बता दूं, लोग रिएक्ट कर रहे हैं, कह रहे हैं कि कुछ तो ऐड आने वाला है जिसका कि MS धोनी हाइप बना रहे हैं, वो अपना जर्सी नंबर चेंज नहीं कर रहे। बाकी आप क्या सोचते हो इसके बारे में कमेंट करके
मैं नहीं सोचता इस बारे में। न्यूज़ बॉय तेरे को भी नहीं सोचना
जरूर
चाहिए।
बताना। तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते चुकी है नॉर्थ कोरिया के सुप्रीम लीडर किम जोंग उन के बारे में। तो किम जोंग उन ने ऑफिशियली नॉर्थ कोरिया का इलेक्शन जीत
हेलो वीगन, क्या हाल है?
लिया विद 99.93 ऑफ द वोट। कितना गजब।
पॉल, क्या हाल है? बाय द वे, डिड आई से दैट? इंटेलिजेंस कैसे हुआ? जब है तो उसमें प्रोग्रामिंग ही परम्यूटेशंस एंड कॉम्बिनेशंस में, because people think that's also what human intelligence is like. People are wrong, but that's what they think.
तब है ना भाई, कुछ दिन पहले इलेक्शन हुए थे, आपको पता होगा, एंड अभी वो जीत गए 99.93% ऑफ द वोट्स। तो लोग अब ऐसे कमेंट्स कर रहे हैं ना कि वो 0.07% लोगों का अब क्या होगा। एक मीम आप देख सकते हो, किम जोंग उन उनके पुलिस को बोल रहे हैं कि वो 0.07% लोगों के नाम दो मुझे। तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते चुकी है पीक इंडियन जुगाड़ के बारे में। तो भाई पुलिस हैकिंग चल रहा था, ठीक है, एक जगह
नहीं यार, अभी ब्लिंकिट खोला था मैंने, आ ही नहीं रहा है कुछ।
हेलमेट्स का कि भाई जो राइडर्स है वो हेलमेट पहन रहा है कि नहीं। एक बंदे ने नहीं पहना था हेलमेट, तो वो क्या करता है, ब्लिंकिट के थ्रू हेलमेट मंगवाता है, जो कि उसको रिसीव हुआ कुछ ही मिनट्स में, एंड वही हेलमेट पहन के वो पुलिस चेकिंग क्रॉस करके जाता है। यह है भाई पीक इंडियन जुगाड़। तो चलिए नेक्स्ट।
आज मैंने आई थिंक लाइक लेजेट आज मैं निकला था सुबह विदाउट हेलमेट, मैंने राइड करा भाई। समटाइम्स ओके, नेवर राइड विदाउट हेलमेट, राइट? बट या नेवर राइड विदाउट हेलमेट, ओके गाइस।
के बारे में बात करते चुकी है UK07 राइडर के बारे में। तो UK07 राइडर उनके एक्सीडेंट के बाद पहला पोस्ट किया, वो ये फोटो पोस्ट किए थे, कैप्शन में लिखे, कभी सोचा नहीं था कि जिंदा रहूंगा, जिस रास्ते में गया था वहां से आना नामुमकिन था, मेरे लिए ये सब एक मिरेकल से कम नहीं है। एक अनाथ
आइसक्रीम ऑर्डर करो, आइसक्रीम घर पे पड़ी, अभी तो मैंने डायबिटीज शेक पिया है।
आज मेरे को नहीं पता आगे क्या होगा, क्या करूंगा, लेकिन एक नया जन्म मिला है तो कुछ तो सोचा होगा भगवान ने। बहुत सारे लोग परेशान है मेरे लिए। आई एम आउट फ्रॉम ICU एंड सेफ। एक रेस्टोरेंट में इंडियन होने के कारण एंट्री डिनाई कर दिया गया। इतना नहीं, बाहर लिखा हुआ था नो स्मोकिंग के बारे में। तो भाई वियतनाम के एक रेस्टोरेंट में इंडियन होने के कारण एंट्री डिनाई कर दिया गया। इतना
डंका बज रहा है,
बाहर लिखा हुआ था नो स्मोकिंग नो इंडियन। इससे रिलेटेड एक वीडियो वायरल जा रहा है, जिसे देख के काफी सारे लोग गुस्सा है ना, आप देखिए।
वीगन ने 24 मीट यूज किया है, 24 डिवाइडेड बाय 3 इज इक्वल टू 8 थाला फॉर अ रीजन।
रेस्टोरेंट ने लड़कियों को भी आने से मना कर दिया क्योंकि हम लोग इंडियन है। और उसमें क्या लिखा था वो बताइए? इंडियंस आर नॉट अलाउड। इंडिया पाकिस्तान बांग्लादेश आपको फील नहीं कराते? हाँ, बोल के नहीं कराते, पर इनडायरेक्टली तो है, और आपको ये फील हो जाता है क्योंकि आप इतने बेवकूफ हो। हमारी एक भी ऐसी कोई हरकत नहीं है जिससे कंट्री का नाम खराब हो। स्टिल दे आर हेटिंग अस फॉर आवर स्किन एंड दैट्स अ डम थिंग। इवन द अरब कंट्रीज, हमको कितना कॉम्प्लीमेंट मिलता है कि आप लगते हो अरब जैसे, बट वो अरब को भी नहीं बोलते हैं। अरब को भी व्हाइट पीपल डोंट लाइक। वियतनाम विद हिज फैमिली एंड द इंसिडेंट इज अबाउट लाइक रेसिज्म एंड इट
पिंक टैंक टॉप, सो व्हाट?
हैपेंड इन दानांग, इट्स लाइक अ सेंट्रल पार्ट ऑफ वियतनाम। एंड भैया आप बताइए, अब आपके साथ
She also has a pink top on.
क्या हुआ? इसको रेस्टोरेंट के बाहर लिखा था इंडियंस आर नॉट अलाउड। कौन लिखा है? होयांग विलेज में, आई डोंट रिमेंबर द रेस्टोरेंट। होयांग विलेज की बात है और वहाँ पे उन्होंने लिखा इंडियंस आर नॉट। भाई वियतनाम का टूरिज्म इंडिया से ज्यादा कौन चला रहा है? वियतनाम इतना हिट हो रहा है, किसी वजह से हो रहा है? मैं यही कह रहा हूँ कि हम इतना
इंडिया की वजह से ही तो हो रहा है। वियतनाम अभी खत्म नहीं हो होता, इंडिया नहीं होता तो वहाँ जा नहीं रहे होते हम लोग टूरिज्म की तरफ। और क्या
खर्चा करें इंडियन कंट्रीज में? जो हम लोग खर्चा कर रहे हैं वो ये लोग खर्चा नहीं कर सकते। नहीं कर सकते, नहीं कर सकते। वो लोग ये नहीं खर्चा कर सकते। ये अपनी इनकम का महीने का 10% खर्चा करके पूरा घूम सकते हैं। आप अपनी महीने की इनकम का 110 खर्चा करके घूमते हैं। एक्जैक्टली। तो मैं आपके सामने भाई जो भी सच्चाई है वो लाना चाह रहा हूँ। इट्स नॉट लाइक कि मैं कुछ भी बता दूंगा व्यू के लिए। अगर आप फेस करोगे तो आपको समझ।
तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में
केस लेने आया आज। वियतनाम क्या हुआ है?
बात करते चुकी है सिंगर एंड पॉलिटिशियन मैथिली ठाकुर के बारे में। कुछ दिन पहले आपको पता होगा, इनके वजह से एक स्पेशली एबल्ड स्टूडेंट को ट्राईसाइकिल मिला था। बेसिकली ये स्टूडेंट का वायरल गया था, आप देख सकते हो, चल नहीं पा रही थी। इसके बाद काफी सारे लोगों ने मैथिली ठाकुर को टैग किया।
इसी बात पे तो लिखा है नॉट अलाउड, ये एहसान मत करो। तो गरीब हो, उनकी क्या गलती एग्जैक्टली? ओह शिट, मेरा दांत लग गया माइक पे यार, फक। ओ पीछे
यार कहते हुए कि इसके लिए कुछ करो, बड़ी मुश्किल से ये स्कूल जाती है। काफी सारे लोगों ने टैग किया मैथिली ठाकुर को, ऑफिशियल्स को। जब मैथिली ठाकुर तक ये वीडियो पहुंचा तो वो
हाउ इज शी अ पॉलिटिशियन? इट्स हाउ ओल्ड इज शी? हाउ द फक इज शी अ पॉलिटिशियन? इट्स एस्टोनिशिंग।
ऑफिशियल से बात करके ट्राईसाइकिल का जुगाड़ करा दिए स्टूडेंट के लिए, जिसके बारे में अपडेट देते हुए वो एक वीडियो पोस्ट की थी, जो कि मैं दिखा चुका हूं। अच्छा इंसिडेंट बता दूं, बिहार के गोपालगंज से वो ट्राईसाइकिल गिफ्ट दिया हुआ, कितना हुआ होगा, 3-4 दिन ही हुआ है, ठीक है। एंड वो ट्राईसाइकिल अभी खराब हो चुका है, टूट चुका है। जो लोग
यार ये तो सही नहीं है.
वीडियो पोस्ट करके बताया ना कि जो ट्राईसाइकिल गिफ्ट दिया गया था वो सेकंड हैंड था एंड अभी वो खराब हो चुका है, उसको यूज करना डिफिकल्ट हो रहा है. तो वो अभी काफी साल हुए इसको क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं ना, कहते हुए कि ट्राईसाइकिल गिफ्ट दिया गया सिर्फ दिखाने के लिए सोशल मीडिया में फोटोज पोस्ट करके. तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते चुकी है फुकरा इंसान के बारे में. फुकरा इंसान का जो अपकमिंग वीडियो है जिसका शूट वगैरह सब हो चुका है और उसको पोस्ट करने के लिए वो डर रहे हैं. क्यों, इसके बारे में बताते हुए वो अपने ब्रॉडकास्ट चैनल में ये कहा
तो क्योंकि यूट्यूबर्स को बहुत ज़्यादा हेट मिल रहा है, इंक्लूडिंग करीमनाटी, पूरव झा एंड आशीष चंचलानी.
क्विक अपडेट यूट्यूब पे, जैसे आई कीप ट्राइंग ऑन समथिंग न्यू. जैसे अभी हमने हसाव कमा चालू करा था, उसके एपिसोड्स में डालूंगा. अभी मैं जस्ट फिगरिंग इट आउट कि उसको कैसे बेटर करना है एंड क्या क्या हमारे फ्लॉज हैं. बट उसके अलावा वी आर स्टार्टिंग न्यू प्रोजेक्ट जहाँ पर हम रियल लाइफ स्टोरीज कवर करने वाले हैं सभी. लाइक जो भी मतलब आप में से अगर कोई चाहता है उसके पास कुछ बहुत क्रेजी स्टोरी है एंड उसको पोर्ट्रे करना है एक अच्छे वे में इंटरनेट पे, देन वी गोना लाइक कवर इट एंड हम उसको आप दिखाएंगे बढ़िया तरीके से. तो इसकी हमने फर्स्ट वीडियो शूट कर ली एंड इट्स अ हॉरर रियल स्टोरी एंड मेरे काफी नोन पर्सन के साथ ही वो सारी चीजें हुई हैं. तो मैं अब सोच रहा हूं कि मैं ऐसे आके कभी बात करता नहीं, आज क्यों से बात कर रहा है. तो चीज ऐसी है कि हॉरर वो चीज के साथ ना प्रूफ भी है कि वो क्यों हॉरर है, किस लिए हॉरर है एंड वो चीज ऐसी है जो हमारे दिल दहला देती है. तो मेरे को भी डर लगता है सबको लगता है इंटरनेट पे ऐसी चीजें डालने से. तो मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा कि क्या करना चाहिए क्योंकि वीडियो रेडी है, एवरीथिंग इज क्रेजी. आई थिंक लाइक
fuck off. Well, let me just promote it in a different way. You guys are pathetic. और तो ये फिर से गरीबों को मिलकर एक नाइस. आप एक दिन बोल रहे थे ना ये फुकरा भी पीडो है. मैं नहीं बोल रहा था, किसी और ने बोला था चैट पे. आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट दैट. Bro, is there any horror incident with you? A couple.
things should get out. So yeah, I decided we're gonna post that video. बस हिम्मत जोड़ रहे हैं.
उस न्यू वीडियो की बात करते हैं आशीष संसान के बारे में. तो आशीष संसान ने अपने इंस्टाग्राम पर ये फोटो पोस्ट किए थे, कैप्शन में लिखे समथिंग इज कुकिंग, आई वंडर व्हाट इट इज, हैशटैग इट स्टार्ट्स हियर. उन्होंने हाथ में नारियल पकड़ा हुआ है जहां लिखा हुआ है प्राइम वीडियो. Amazon प्राइम पर कुछ तो आ रहा है क्योंकि पूरा भाभी मैंने ऐसे कुछ पोस्ट किए थे अपने इंस्टाग्राम में. क्या पता कुछ कोलैब वगैरह देखने को मिले, पता नहीं. बस पूरा भागा बात हुई, बात करते हैं हर्ष बेनीवाल के बारे में. तो ना कहीं तो हर्ष बेनीवाल गए थे जहां भीड़ लग गई थी, काफी सारे लोगों से फोटोज लेने लगे. बट एक अंकल को पता नहीं था कि हर्ष बेनीवाल कौन है, क्या करते हैं. जिसके बाद वो पूछने चले गए हर्ष बेनीवाल से कि तुम कौन हो भाई, इससे रिलेटेड वीडियो जो वायरल जा रहा है आप देखिए.
ये आता है हर्ष बेनीवाल, ये अंकल जा रहे हैं और यहाँ पे सब फोटो खिंचा रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो अंकल पूछने चले भाई तू है कौन जो इतना फेमस है.
तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते हैं कीड़े इन अमूल दूध के बारे में. शायद नाज़मीन करके एक जन है.
Please elaborate. I'm so tired today without having to do anything actually. I feel I have a different kind of understanding when it comes to ghosts, spirits, demons, all these things. I feel like I have a different kind of understanding for those things. Not better or worse, but different than what most people think of these things. So when you ask me, is there any horror incident with you? The answer is yes. But that is yes based on my understanding. If I were to explain the whole incident to you and then I give you in your language, then it wouldn't be like a spirit or something like that. Hana? If does that make sense? Wait, hold on. Yeah, I think it does. Let me know if you want me to get more into it. You news kaise thi? I have no idea. शिवदीप, I have no fucking idea.
8,000 से ज़्यादा फॉलोअर्स हैं. वो एक वीडियो पोस्ट की अमूल दूध से रिलेटेड. अमूल दूध के अंदर उनको कीड़े मिले, आप देखिए.
It does, fuck you.
दिखाओ तो सही कितने कीड़े निकल रहे हैं. ये देखना सारा वो कर दिया मैंने. तू निकाले से बाहर फेंक नहीं. मुझे थोड़ी पता था इसलिए ये फिर इसकी वीडियो बनाओ, इसकी वीडियो बनाओ, दुकान वाले को दिखाओ. अरे मैं दूध ही चाहिए. इसकी दुकान से दुकान से दूध मत मंगवाना कभी, बताओ. उसकी क्या गलती है? कि क्या अपना गलती हमने तो उसकी दुकान से लाना. उसकी अंदर तक है. उसकी दुकान है. ये चेक करो दुकान वाले की गलती है, उसने गेम थोड़ी. नहीं देख तो ठीक है. अब फिर ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? थैली भी अभी खाली है. एक दो पड़ जाएंगे इसमें तो देखो कितनी है बच्चों को पिलाते हैं. अंदर से वीडियो बनाओ फिर ऐसे दुकान.
तो चलिए नेक्स्ट अपडेट के बारे में बात करते हैं. WhatsApp के न्यू फीचर गेस्ट चैट्स के बारे में. इसके थ्रू क्या होगा, अगर किसी का WhatsApp अकाउंट नहीं है फिर भी आप उसको मैसेज भेज सकते हो WhatsApp में. ये कैसे काम करेगा मैं आपको एकदम सिंपल एग्जांपल के थ्रू समझा देता हूं. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जांपल आप WhatsApp यूज करते हो, आपको WhatsApp में अकाउंट.
Okay. भूत के बच्चे के लात मार देता है ये हॉरर एक्सपीरियंस में. I don't think I'm capable right now in my clarity of thought to explain to you what I think the spirit world is. Okay? अभी because I'm genuinely exhausted for some reason. और वो Discord पे हमने watch party करी थी La La Land की and like half of my brain is still with the movie. I'm not kidding. कसम से भाई आज लग रहा है वॉच पार्टी एनर्जी ट्रेनिंग तो है. देखा धीरे धीरे बना के दूध ठीक थोड़ी हो जाएगा. ट्रू. तो अच्छा मैं क्या करता. सो हाँ, आई कैन नॉट गिव यू अ गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द स्पिरिट वर्ल्ड बिकॉज आई डू नॉट हैव द क्लैरिटी ऑफ थॉट राइट नाउ एंड मे बी आई नेवर हैड. बट I do believe in like people say like there are two concepts people say there's body, there's mind. I don't believe that. I believe in mind body, right? And mind comes first in my opinion. Mind is not your brain. Mind is also not your what's the whole thing? Your nervous system? Is that what it is? Your brain, your spine and shit, right? So that's not your mind. But भूत वाला podcast देखने के लिए जाओ not knowing podcast पर. True. PFC, prefrontal cortex नहीं, that's a small part of the brain. So when we say brain, we are not usually talking about brain. ठीक है. पहले हम लोगों को लगता था कि ब्रेन, मतलब हम लोगों को नहीं, लाइक पढ़े लिखे साइंटिस्ट्स को लगता था कि ब्रेन इज़ वेयर दिस ऑल शिट हैपन्स, राइट. सिनेप्सिस वगैरह जो भी होता है, व्हाटएवर द फक देयर लैंग्वेजेस, राइट. देन पीपल स्लोली स्टार्टेड टू रियलाइज, ओह एक्चुअली स्पाइन इज एज मच a part, right? And then they realize, no, and the gut is also as much of the part. So like the most, I'm forgetting the word again. I have no energy right now. So the most is it the, whatever the term is, fuck it, is in your brains. The second number is in your gut, right? And the spine connects these things together. In चीज़ों को मिला के there's another term जिसको generally हम लोग बात कर रहे होते हैं when we are talking about the practical brain, not just the brain as the organ, but when we are talking about brain as in the controller of the body, we are talking about these three things combined, right? And maybe it's the nervous system, I don't know. And there's a term for it, whatever. ठीक है. So or hormones, yes. So when I say mind, I don't even mean that, right? Brain तो obviously नहीं, right? Because everyone understands brain is not the end all be all. In one way it is, but in other ways it's not. People also understand that it's the whole system. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying in the mind as in the psyche. But deeper than that, I'm getting to the word consciousness. The word I was trying not to use because it's an overused term. And just like anything overused, it loses all its meaning, right? So that's sort of what I mean. And so I believe in mind-body. Right? So in my belief, the world of ideas, the world of fantasy, the world of dreams is as real as this world. I don't think there is a, it's difficult to get all the way through it, but it's weird for me to think oh, dream is not real and this is more real, because like you go back to fucking Rene Descartes and he was like, wait, hold on, how could this not be a dream? He basically realized कि ये जो भी चीज़ें मैं experience कर रहा हूँ जिसके बेस पे I think all of this is real, when I'm in a dream, that feels real as well. So this could also be a dream, right? Again, मैं so देखा, इसलिए that's why I'm trying to be careful with the conversation, because it can lead to misunderstanding like this. I know you're joking, I know you're fucking around, but it can very easily lead to misunderstandings like these, right? क्या कर रहा था मैं? So to completely bastardize the René Descartes concept, so the idea was कि okay, जो कहते हैं ना, I think therefore I am, the common saying of René Descartes, that happened because René Descartes went on this journey. He's gonna assume everything that he can doubt be false, right? So that's the idea. जो भी चीज़ को मैं doubt कर सकता हूँ उसको मैं गलत मान लेता हूँ, झूठ मान लेता हूँ. So मुझे स्मेल आ रही है अच्छी, कैन आई डाउट दैट? यस. सो मे बी इट्स, I'll just assume it's false. It's not the core reality. That was the attempt, René Descartes का. And then he went back. हर चीज़ को डाउट कर सकता था, जिन भी चीज़ों को उनको उसने हटा दिया. उसके बाद he was left with this one thing, जो कि एक शायद से मिस ट्रांसलेशन है, बिकॉज द एक्चुअल ट्रांसलेशन वाज समथिंग एल्स व्हिच आई डोंट रिमेंबर राइट नाउ, बट द मिस ट्रांसलेशन पॉप कल्चर वर्जन इज आई थिंक देयरफॉर आई एम. आई कैन नॉट डाउट दैट आई एम थिंकिंग, बिकॉज इन ऑर्डर फॉर दैट डाउट टू अपीयर आई हैव टू बी थिंकिंग ऑलरेडी. So it's logically impossible, right? So René Descartes was like, I got it. It's a dumb idea. I mean, it's not a dumb idea, but you can see the rationalization René Descartes was doing, right? उसके अंदर ही the issue with that is उसके अंदर ही there are a lot of presuppositions that René Descartes could have doubted but didn't, and that is probably because he was too influenced by the scientific culture. It means like the tree without roots. What? One of the biggest turn off मैं भगवान में बिलीव नहीं करता बट आई बिलीव इन पावर. यस दैट्स ट्रू. सो क्या बोल रहा था मैं अबाउट Rene Descartes. What was I saying? So yeah, there was a lot of things he was presupposing to be true for all of that to happen. The existence of the self, right? अपनी खुद की psyche को, इन सारी चीज़ों को he was just presupposing to be true. And if he were more exposed to the spiritual cultures, which is difficult even nowadays. मतलब उस टाइम का तो छोड़ो, इंटरनेट के बावजूद भी it's extremely difficult to get exposed to those kind of traditions. I think he would have come to a different understanding. I think Rene Descartes would have come real close to understanding of someone like Rumi, right, or Zarathustra, or anyone from eastern side में तो कितने सारे, right? So that is what I mean by I believe in the mind body. I don't think it is just the mind. I do believe mind is more fundamental, and I think slowly science would also believe that. It's starting to, but I think slowly it will get there as well. The issue with science is the filterization. There are so many different things. I'm sorry. So the issue with science is there are so many filterizations which will stop it to get to that understanding. Because the way the system is developed, the way the filter is developed, it's supposed to let in those particular kinds of things. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Tani, thank you. Anyways, so that is mind body. Okay. So if we accept, and I completely understand, I have not provided a good enough argument to for you to accept it, but let's just assume that we accept that mind body reality, so we can kind of see a world where the dream reality, the fantasy reality, is not less real than this reality in which we are speaking, right? So if the reality of the ideas, if the reality of the fantasy and dreams is as real, if we are again assuming that for now is as real as this reality, then the reality of spirits, ghosts, and all of these things are also as real. Does that make sense? I'm not saying do you accept it as truth, because there's no way I have given you nearly enough, but does it make sense at least in theory? अब इस चीज़ को जो तू पूछ रहा था हॉरर एक्सपीरियंस, व्हाई डू यू गाइस डू दिस टू मी, तो उस चीज़ को मैं उस अंडरस्टैंडिंग से अगर कोई इंसिडेंट्स बताता हूँ, आई हैव टू टेक इट फ्रॉम दैट वर्ल्ड इनटू दिस world, right? And if I make sense of that thing into this world, then I have to use the language from circles like psychology, from circles like science, from circles like neurology, right? That cannot grasp the truth. So that's the idea. Jokes aside, आपको अगर कोई अपने शूट पे पैरानॉर्मल स्टफ दिखाना है तो आप उसे कैसे पोर्ट्रे करोगे? I'll have to think about it. एक सेकंड है. Philosopher Nick Bostrom, I have no idea about him, proposed the reality might be a simulation. If true, then ghosts and glitches are fragments of deleted characters, like video game NPC after death. So जो simulation theory है, I think mathematically it makes sense, right? The simulation theory. So for those who don't know, there is a chance, ठीक है, कि we might be living in a simulation, right? Okay. Do I have to draw it out? No, fuck it. So if we actually consider the odds, what ends up happening is कि हो सकता है कोई एक रियल वर्ल्ड हो, उसमें बहुत सारे, उसमें किसी बंदे ने एक सिमुलेटेड वर्ल्ड बनाया हो, ठीक है, और वो सिमुलेटेड वर्ल्ड वुड हैव बीन सो एडवांस्ड कि उसके एक बंदे ने एक और सिमुलेटेड वर्ल्ड बनाया हो, एंड यू कैन इमेजिन दैट चेन टू कीप गोइंग. तो बहुत सारे फेक सिमुलेशन के सिमुलेशन हैं, लेकिन रियल वर्ल्ड एक ही है, if we accept all of that. So mathematically it's much more likely that we are one of the simulations rather than the one true world, right? Now in certain way it makes sense to you. Why does it make sense to you? Because the idea is spiritual in its essence. It doesn't even mathematically make sense. It only makes mathematical sense when we concede already, when we presuppose कि हाँ एक रियल वर्ल्ड था जहाँ पर सिमुलेशन बनी, सिमुलेशन वाज सो एडवांस कि उसके अंदर किसी ने सिमुलेशन बनाई, एंड दैट केप्ट ऑन हैपनिंग. इट ओनली मेक सेंस देन इफ वी प्रीसपोज ऑल ऑफ दैट. ये जो पूरी आइडिया है, इट्स ऑलमोस्ट लाइक एन allegory of the, not allegory of the cave, but allegory of the spiritual ideas, but which is very similar to allegory of the cave, right? Plato wala. So that's why it feels like it makes sense, the simulations theory, even though there's no reason for us to believe that. So yeah. Fuck me sideways. But again, a thing is consciousness, because if it is a simulation, we should be coded and does not use our brains. मैं समझ नहीं पाया तेरी बात. Even the thing is consciousness, because if it is simulation, we should be coded and does not use our brain. Well, that's what people are trying to do with AGI, right? क्या हाल है? Hello, Malika, how are you? Thanks for joining the stream. भाई जब मैंने फर्स्ट टाइम GTA खेली थी तब मेरे मन में आया था, बट मैं फर्स्ट सेकंड क्लास में होऊंगा तो किसी ने भाव नहीं दिया तो मैं भी फिलोसोफर नहीं तो मैं भी फिलोसोफर होता. शिट डैम डूड. पहले लोगों के ना फर्स्ट नेम होते थे और सरनेम्स नहीं होते थे, सो वी वुड नो पीपल कि वो लोग कहाँ से हैं उसके बेस पे. सो यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड द मोस्ट कॉमन वन लाइक जीसस ऑफ नाजरेथ, राइट? सो लाइक इट वाज जीसस, सो क्राइस्ट इज नॉट द लास्ट नेम, इट्स लाइक जीसस ऑफ नाजरेथ इज हाउ पीपल वुड हैव नोन हिम एट द टाइम, राइट? सो आई कैन जस्ट इमेजिन शुभदीप फ्रॉम सोनीपत, नहीं शुभदीप ऑफ सोनीपत. A simulation can copy a behavior. Can it create real experience? We have no reason to believe that so far. बढ़िया तो सीधा सा. Not too bad. Thanks for asking. मैं तो खाना बनाते हुए सुन रहा. अरे वाह. ऊपर वाले का आंसर करो चुपचाप से, अच्छे से सोच के. नीलेश फरीदाबाद. भाई जोक्स असाइड, आपको अगर अपने शूट में कोई पैरानॉर्मल स्टफ दिखाना है तो आप उसको कैसे पोर्ट्रे करोगे? सो दिस इज व्हाट आई विल ट्राई टू डू. जैसे कि मैंने भी समझाया ना, माई ओन थ्योरी, नॉट माई ओन थ्योरी, माई ओन ओपिनियन, कि लाइक ओके दिस इज द ग्राउंड रियलिटी इन विच वी आर लिविंग. देयर आर ऑल दीज डिफरेंट रियलिटीज, लाइक ड्रीम रियलिटी, फैंटेसी रियलिटी, आइडियाज, creative reality, right, and the spirit reality. So I would try to form a link between these two things, and film allows you to do that. तो यहाँ पर जो वो चीज़ हो रही है, how it relates to this, I would try to make that link, and that's what paranormal really is, if you notice. I don't know how many people do it consciously, but that's what it really is. So you can make the reality more paranormal in film because you can manipulate time and space in film, right? So I would try to make it, and the real answer is I would try to make it honest. So whatever is happening with the characters or the character in the spirit world, it should be linked, और जो चीज़ें बाहर हो रही हैं, it's just an representation of that mind body, right? आज फिलोसफी का ही पेपर है मेरा. आज पेपर है तेरा तो थप्पड़ मारूँ, जाके पढ़ाई कर, स्ट्रीम देखनी है, रिवाइज करने अंदर सारा गलत. साले बिंद्रा, how the fuck have you not corrected me yet? Dude, I've been talking like pop philosophy for like last 10 minutes. मैंने तो भय देखी थी, गौरव तिवारी पे बेच दी. किसने बोला आपको इतनी फ्रीडम है, पूरी स्क्रिप्ट बनी हुई है गौरव सुन के हिसाब से, तो बस शूट करो. ट्रू. दैट्स व्हाई आई डोंट गिव अ शिट अबाउट फकिंग मेकिंग इट इन इंडस्ट्री. Who am I to correct you, sir? True. That's true as well. What the fuck do you know? क्या पढ़ रहे हो तुम फिलोसफी में, मलिका हिंद? Simulation theory adds extra layers without evidence. According to Occam's razor, the simplest explanation with the fewest assumption is usually correct. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that Occam's razor is usually correct, right? Again, जो Occam's razor है, this is also a very logical thing, right? And there you have rationalization, you have logic, you have all these things, building blocks, which made this huge world that we live in, right? They made this possible. That doesn't mean that's all there is. That doesn't mean that everything there is within those things, is what I'm saying. Ethics, Kant, Aristotle, मैंने वैसे आज तक लेक्चर नहीं अटेंड करा. अच्छा, वेट भाई मेरा दिमाग बिल्कुल भी नहीं चल रहा है. Categorical imperative? What is the idea? Whatever, you get what I'm saying, Malika. Describe it right now. Like, और जनरली जो मैंने बात भी बोली ना कि डजंट मीन कि इन एंटायर वर्ल्ड एग्जिस्ट विद इन द बाउंड्स ऑफ लॉजिक. ये मैं वो बात नहीं कर रहा कि सदगुरु ने ऐसे ताली मारी तो वहाँ से अमरूद गिर गया पेड़ पे. You see that in your life all the time. You do things, you feel things, you say things that doesn't make any logical, rational sense at all. Right? Even, but there's a constant struggle when you're talking to people, when you're sharing things with people, there's a constant struggle to filter out those narratives, thoughts, emotions into the bucket of logic and rationalization. क्या होता है कि एक मेरा दोस्त है, उसकी अपनी बंदी से लड़ाई हुई, वो मुझे बोलेगा ऐसा हुआ, फिर यार मुझे ना दिमाग खराब हुआ क्योंकि देखना ये भी तो है ना. सो ही इज ट्राइंग टू मेक इट कंप्लीटली रैशनल व्हेन इट्स नॉट. इट डजंट हैव टू बी. सो वी डू इट ऑल द टाइम. We try to take illogical, non-rational things and try to fit them in the bucket of rationality and logic. So it's not even woo-woo जो मैं कह रहा हूँ. I don't think it is. भाई कल वो मूवी आ रही है कोई बहन का, मेरे को दिख गया ना उसकी कॉन्स्पिरेसी थ्योरीज बनाता मेरे से. कौन सी मूवी? धुरेंद्र तो आज देख ली लैश ने. भाई मलिका हिंद से तो एक सवाल पूछा, भागी गई तो मलिका हिंद. डिड आई राइट? आई डोंट वांट. नहीं यही हूँ. कौन सा सवाल? अच्छा लेट मी जस्ट मेक श्योर कि मैंने सवाल तो सही पूछा है ना. आई डोंट वांट टू गूगल इट इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू दो. हाँ सही पूछा है. हाँ सही पूछा है, बिल्कुल सही पूछा है. डिस्क्राइब कैटेगोरिकल इम्पेरेटिव राइट नाउ. फकिंग वेस्टर्न फिलॉसफी 101. मैं नहीं कर रहा अपने 4 घंटे खराब. ट्रू. Same. Simulation theory is like a beautiful illusionist. Consciousness is the one thing that refuses to be tricked. The simple fact that you are aware right now, that's the part no simulation has explained. But if we just want to talk on hypotheticals, then the people who like the simulation theory in support of that would say it's just a matter of time, and we are in one of the simulations which hasn't yet developed the technology which would allow us to create another simulation which would again take a lot of time and become this or that. वाह मुझे क्यों बताओगे? Because it's the main it's the main idea of Kant. And you said you were reading Kant. I can't dance. Pappu can't dance. साला कहाँ गया तेरा? तो एरिस्टोटल, कांट लिखा था तूने सब कुछ. इमैनुअल कांट. यस. मैंने आगे वो भी लिखा था कि मैंने लेक्चर नहीं अटेंड किया एक भी. क्यों नहीं करा? मलिका से मत पूछो, आज जो एक ही बार हक सकती है एग्जाम में हगेगी, इधर ये कंफ्यूज ज़्यादा कर देगी. बोरिंग लगता है. I guess bro tired as fuck. Absolutely dude. I am too. मुझे लगा तो अपनी बात कर रहा है. I am too. बोरिंग लगता है. I think you might have horrible teachers then. But that's not true for philosophy. That's true for like all the things. My first science video in 3 years. Physics girl. How doubt kills your luck. Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Stoicism. Whenever you read a book, whenever you read one of the holy books, it is extremely important to move away from it as soon as you're done with it, I feel. मैंने एक कवर डाला था, सुनना है तो सुनो बट ज़्यादा एक्सपेक्टेशन मत रखना. मुझे तो बेकार लगा, पूरा नहीं है वैसे भी. आई मेस अप लास्ट में, पूरा सॉन्ग कवर नहीं किया. नो रिस्टेड यार, तुम मेरा इतना चैनल देखता है, मैं भी तो तेरा चैनल देखूंगा ही ना. आई डोंट. बात ख़त्म क्या? I just feel like studying it academically for an exam is not the way to go forward with it. Oh, really? Do you? Like, do you mean that, or are you just fucking with me right now? Is that a guitar thing that we can hear when you move your hand? Is that a guitar thing? I've never noticed this before. Okay. Nice, dude. Yeah. So it implies that you have some interest in this, Malika Hind. I haven't heard the song Bindra, so I cannot even say anything. But nice. Here's one thing I noticed. I know certain people who have their narrative for music as well, and that is so restrictive that it doesn't let them enjoy music in itself. So the songs they like, they would enjoy, right? If they listen to someone playing the same song, they would enjoy, right? But if they listen to someone improving but still being very good musically, they wouldn't really enjoy. They would feel like they don't get it. In my opinion, those people are out of touch with themselves, not with other thing. ये बात क्यों करी मैंने? No idea. Oh, because that जो मैंने बोला ना, I don't know the song, that made me think of that. भाई बिंद्रे ऐसे ऐसे डाला कर, देख ऐसे डाला कर, ऐसे टाइटल थंबनेल डाल के, देख रहा है 2 दिन में 15,000 व्यूज़, देख रहा है? इसका क्यों का कवर कर, तू भी क्यों का, क्यों, ठीक है? आशा भोसले पे बोला आपने, आई हैव नो आइडिया एंड आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट आशा भोसले. Neither do I care. What do you mean? But I am interested. What do you mean? बोला था उनको कवर बनाते सॉन्ग पे उनको इंसल्ट फील होता है. ओह, ओके. Alright. बिसी स्कूल में भोसले जिसका सरनेम होगा उसकी तो आदित्य मतलब ट्रू. There lived a certain man in Russia long ago. He was big and strong and his eyes. मेरी बहन बाकी क्या आदित्य बाबू के सवालों के जवाब क्यों नहीं देती है? प्योर क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग क्या कह रहा है आजकल? स्पाइडरमैन का ट्रेलर देखा? हाँ, अभी वॉच पार्टी के जस्ट बाद मैं वॉशरूम में था तब देखा मैंने. इंटरेस्टिंग दो, इंटरेस्टिंग, मतलब बेटर देन आई एक्सपेक्टेड टू बी ऑनेस्ट. बट इट्स ऑल्सो स्पाइडरमैन, सो मैं यही हूँ. तो मैंने तेरे से पूछा कुछ, तो जवाब कैसे ना दे? आप अपने वकील के बिना जवाब नहीं देगी. ट्रू. आई नीड माय लॉयर. It got me thinking. Oh, okay, that's good. So, well, I was gonna say, you might wanna. Jeffrey Kaplan नाम है उसका. He makes some good, interesting philosophy videos. Like this guy. In fact, a right to silence. In fact, this is how I was gonna do the entire महफिल्म thing पहले. There was a time जब मैं बिल्कुल शुरू कर रहा था ना. I really like the way he goes about things. अच्छा, ये तो वो है. Okay, sorry. वैसे मैं धुरंधर 2 का पेड प्रीव्यू देख कर आया हूँ, तो what if स्पॉइलर दे दूँ? I personally don't care, but I would say you guys तुम बताओ, देना चाहिए स्पॉइलर या नहीं? So like you can
sophisticated people
watch his videos if you find it any interest in philosophy. Like his videos are very approachable.
Deeper bond. Emotional inception theory.
And it's a really fascinating way of teaching. So there's a complete dark background. इसके आगे एक शीशा है, शीशे पे लिख रहा होता है, and the whole image is reversed. So you see what he's writing. This video I've seen as well.
That, and then we choose to use those signals like language.
Very interesting videos. You can watch this. And this video is also very good if you want to. Advertising, it doesn't work the way you think it does. And मैंने इसकी video देखी थी. I had no idea about this whole thing. And to this day, I constantly watch people making this mistake. Like, do you guys want to watch this video? I'm up for watching this video and finishing the stream then. If you guys want to. Otherwise, we can just chill. I don't hate it if you were studying it and just on a one-on-one basis. I may as well like it. Can't just do it in a classical setup. I think a philosophy. See, if you have a good teacher in any subject, I think they can make the subject so much better, right? And not just in the stream. Fuck you. So they can make any subject much better. However, philosophy as a subject, uska jo essence hai is completely anti-institution, right? But most of the philosophy that you have to read is also completely institutionalized because that's how it has to be. It has to be institutionalized in order to spread it to and make it accessible for everyone. So I think there's a massive, और ये चीज़ हर subject में है, right? The greatest scientists would always be considered the greatest because they are going away from the institution, right? And they are figuring new truths out. But philosophy at its very core is the practice of doing that only. आपने इंडियन philosophy, मैंने तो कोई philosophy नहीं पढ़ी, to be honest. There are like, what kind of Indian philosophy do you mean? आगे के lyrics नहीं आते, नहीं तो मैंने लिख देने थे. ब्रो कौन सी स्ट्रीम चूज करी थी? ह्यूम. Fuck it, I'll start this.
Sophisticated people have a sophisticated understanding of advertising. They think modern advertisements don't try to rationally or logically persuade us to buy products. No, they work by manipulating our emotions, creating a subconscious association between their products.
Instead of reading, watching, or listening to long hauls of institutionalized philosophy, I rather read, watch, or listen to people who have their own complete different worldviews. And through them, I get different ideas of different things. Sorry about. Start करने के लिए I want to fuck you. फिर मैं ख़त्म करूँगा stream because चार्वाक वेदांत type. I am aware of the ideas. I can't recall Charvak right now because I know the name definitely. Was Charvak the hedonist atheistic type?
Have a sophisticated understanding of advertising. They think modern advertisements don't try to rationally or logically persuade us to buy products.
So I'm somewhat aware of the ideas, but I haven't done any kind of deep dive in this. Yes, Indian materialism. Okay.
No, they work by manipulating our emotions, creating a subconscious association between their products.
And Vedanta, unless I'm wrong, there's also multiple like fundamentally different ideas in Vedanta as well, right? I think the most common one that is used as a image of Indian philosophy is the Advait. चलो भाई, bye पढ़ाई करने जा रहा हूँ. Goodbye vegan, thanks for joining stream buddy. Two Vedanta, okay.
They persuade us to buy products. Understanding of advertising. They think modern advertisements don't try to rationally
so focus on this.
or logically persuade us to buy products. No, they work by manipulating our emotions, creating a subconscious association between their product and some positive emotion or idea. This theory is...
But isn't that Shankaracharya's interpretation of Vedantas and stuff?
Popular, but it is wrong. Not only does advertising not typically work in this emotion-based way, I will argue that it never works this way. My argument is based on some fundamental...
So this is so cool. This is such a cool idea.
...facts about the human mind. And by the end of this video, I think you'll be convinced. But in order to do that, I have to lay out the theory, then summarize a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, then explain one of the most important ideas in the history of psychology in like 30 seconds, then introduce an alternative theory of how advertising works, then show a clip from the television show Mad Men, then explain the 1919 experiment that confirmed Einstein's general theory of relativity, and show how that...
All right.
shows that the original theory of advertising was attractive but wrong, and then pull it all together in the end. So let's go.
So if you like, what happens is there philosophical ideas की बात नहीं है. Generally किसी भी idea को if you embrace the idea, you can never really get rid of that. It becomes a built-in filter within you through which you see the world. And मेरे ख्याल से जो academic philosophy है loses that. It almost never does that.
The accepted theory of advertising that I laid out a few seconds ago has been given the name emotional inception.
The name was coined by Kevin Simler and was inspired by the 2010 movie Inception. In the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio uses some sci-fi technology to enter people's dreams while they're asleep and implant ideas into their subconscious minds. Like, the main thing that they're trying to do is sneak into this one guy's mind through his dreams and implant the idea that he should dissolve his father's energy conglomerate. Side note, they have this incredible power where they can plant ideas in people's minds, and instead of using it to, like, stop a war or something, they use it to weaken one big corporation so that another big corporation can make more money. Whatever. Obviously, some advertisements, especially older ones, try to make an explicit, rational argument in favor of their product. Our toothache medicine is fast-acting. More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. But the emotional inception theory says that most modern advertising isn't rational in that way. It's emotional. The ads don't contain any actual information.
So this is a very common presupposed idea. Okay, it hurts. It works on your feelings. It works on this and it works on that, right? It manipulates you into thinking that you would want this thing, right? This is how we think of advertising generally, not how exactly it works. It's very interesting.
Try to plant in people's minds a simple thought, like, if I smoke Camel cigarettes, I'll be cool. I'll be a cool camel with a human body. The television show Mad Men is about 1960s advertising executives who drink alcohol at lunch and refuse to acknowledge their own trauma from fighting in the Korean War. They never use this term emotional inception, but the whole show is built on this exact theory. For example, there are these executives from Kodak who go into this meeting assuming that the advertisers who they are hiring to sell their circular slide projector will do so by finding some way to tout the technology in the product.
So have you figured out a way to work the wheel into it?
We know it's hard because wheels aren't really seen as exciting technology, even though they are the original.
But the main character in the show, Don Draper, gently dismisses this idea and instead suggests an emotional approach.
Well, technology is a glittering lure, but there's a rare occasion when the public can be engaged on a level beyond flash, if they have a sentimental bond with the product.
Then he tells this whole long story about his mentor in the field of advertising, who's named Teddy. You don't have to worry about that. The point is just that Don is going to recommend that they sell their product by creating an emotional connection between the product and the idea of personal nostalgia. And because this is a dramatic television show, Don makes the pitch for the advertising campaign using the product itself, the slide projector, and photos of his own family. And this is the end of season 1, so by this point the audience knows that Don's hubris, extramarital affairs, and alcoholism have destroyed his marriage and his relationship with his children.
We also talked about a deeper bond with the product. Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent.
I think it's also a problem of semantics and language for me, not a problem of comprehension, but unfamiliarity with the way language is used in philosophization. I just cannot seem to get it. No, that is an issue with philosophy. In fact, unfortunately, a lot of philosophy trickles down to semantics, right? Especially when we're talking about a lot of ethical frameworks, right? However, are you guys aware of the idea of the allegory of the cave? Plato's idea? So like that's a completely different framework. But the way this guy is going to get into it, I don't think you'll find that issue.
Told me that in Greek, nostalgia literally means the pain from an old wound. It's a twinge in your heart, far more powerful than memory alone. This device isn't a spaceship. It's a time machine. It goes backwards, forwards. It takes us to a place where we ache to go again. It's not called the wheel. It's called the carousel. It lets us travel the way a child travels. Round and around, and back home again.
Usually इसकी वीडियोस में लंबे लंबे clips नहीं होते, just to let you know.
To a place where we know we are loved.
They are going to create an emotional connection. And then this guy cries.
Good luck at your next meeting.
This is all classic emotional inception theory, but as appealing as this theory is, my goal in the next few minutes is to persuade you that the emotional inception theory is a myth. Emotional inception does not occur. First, notice that this theory is totally Pavlovian. In 1897, the Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov had all these dogs, and he said to them, "Dogs, I'm going to strap you into this absurd 19th century contraption to measure how much saliva you produce, and I'm going to ring a bell and then feed you, and then ring a bell and then feed you." And the dog said, "Woof." And after a few repetitions of this, Pavlov would ring the bell, and the dogs would produce the saliva, whether they got the food or not. And Pavlov would say, "Thanks, dogs. Together, we just invented classical conditioning, but only I'm going to get the Nobel Prize." And he did. The emotional inception theory says that advertisers do basically the same thing. Just as Pavlov trained his dogs to associate the bell ringing with food, so too advertisers train us to associate, let's say, energy drinks with very unsafe behavior and a sense of adventure. Okay, but if you stop and think about it, this theory makes human beings incredibly irrational. The dog.
So you get the idea, right? Just Red Bull was the perfect example. So they keep linking Red Bull with adventure sports and stuff like that. So we just think, oh, the emotional inception theory tells us, okay, we think, oh, Red Bull as an adventure or reason. This is the fundamental idea of how people think advertising really goes. He's gonna make a claim otherwise.
Dogs that Pavlov was feeding 130 years ago, they're pretty rational. When the dogs are being trained, they are actually given food. But according to the emotional inception theory, advertisers are able to train us without giving us anything. It would be one thing if they gave us a Red Bull and then let us actually ride a motorcycle, but advertisements just show us a picture of someone else riding a motorcycle. When you think about it, this theory says that someone we don't know or trust, without our permission, can basically hypnotize us into salivating over energy drinks just by showing us some pictures. Of course, it is true that there's been an enormous amount of economic and psychological research demonstrating human irrationality, but still, it would be nice if there was some alternative theory that could explain these advertisements, maybe even explain them better, without making humans out to be staggeringly irrational. Well, there is. To illustrate this alternative theory of advertising, I'm going to read an Onion headline. The Onion is a satirical newspaper. The headlines and articles, they're jokes. Here's a headline from 2018. Beer aisle scanned for something a-hole friend won't mock. That's just good. I don't even have to read you the article. That's how brilliant of a headline it is. The point is, for a lot of things, we're not just buying them for what they can do for us. We're buying them for what they say about us to other people. The alternative theory of advertising that I'm going to propose in a few seconds agrees with emotional inception theory that advertisers do create associations, arbitrary connections between some product and some idea. But according to this theory, what happens next is that we choose to buy those products as a way of purposefully communicating to other people something about ourselves. These days, I'm just an old man.
See, and that's a very small shift, but that's a very crucial shift, I think.
But long ago, in a time of much more hair, I was a graduate student in England. Almost all of my friends were other students.
Okay.
It was a
I don't want
Strongbow.
hair.
Now, Strongbow is not beer.
Oh, नहीं, अच्छा ठीक है, मतलब कोई बीच में हुआ रहा, sorry, my bad.
Day, we go to a pub and drink a dark ale. Usually, we drink 1 or 2 beers, and then we would go home at a reasonable hour and go to sleep so that we could wake up the next morning and go to the library. But in England, at that time, and I assume still today, there was this drink Strongbow. Now, Strongbow is not beer. It's hard apple cider. It's basically apple juice that gets you drunk. It does not taste good, but it's easy to drink a lot of it quickly. So one night, when one of our friends, Lindsay, showed up with a 24-pack of Strongbow, that communicated something. She didn't have to say anything. Just the fact that she showed up with this product that she had purchased, that let us know, like, oh, this girl's here to party. Sometimes you want to come across to other people as sophisticated, and sometimes you want to come across as fun. The idea behind this theory is that advertisers associate their product with some idea, in this case, wild partying. And then it's not like, according to this theory, when we see the product, the idea of wild partying pops up into our heads and then we're sort of emotionally drawn to buy the product. No, according to this theory, we rationally choose to buy the product in order to associate ourselves with the idea. I'm calling this the social connotation theory of advertising. I'm borrowing the term connotation from John Stuart Mill, who 180 years ago published A System of Logic, and in that he used the term connotative to refer to those names that communicate additional information. You don't have to remember any of that. All that matters is that according to this theory, the job of the advertiser is easy. With emotional inception, the advertiser had to be like Leonardo DiCaprio, like sneaking into our minds and manipulating our emotions. But according to this theory, all the advertiser has to do is like throw out there that like, hey, this signals that, and then we choose to use those signals like language however we see fit. Also, Leonardo DiCaprio only agrees to do the inception and get the energy conglomerate dissolved because Mr. Saito promises to get Leo's criminal record cleared so that he can go back to like see his children. But if Leo can like implant ideas in people's minds, why doesn't he just implant in the mind of like the governor or something the idea of pardoning?
Bye-bye, thanks for trying to stream.
How can Saito get him pardoned, but Leo himself, who has the power of inception, can't? We are now almost ready to present the actual argument that shows that this theory is false and this theory is correct. But before we cook that recipe, there are still 2 ingredients that are missing. First, there's the indisputable fact at the heart of the social connotation theory that buying things is a public act. You've heard the term conspicuous consumption. It was coined by the economist Thorsten Veblen in his 1899 book, The Theory of the Leisure Class. Who is the leisure class? We are. Veblen pointed out that the Industrial Revolution created a new class of people who were not as wealthy as royalty, but nonetheless had enough money to engage in consumption, that is the acquisition and using up of stuff that is conspicuous, that is visible to other people, the opposite of inconspicuous. He needed to coin this term because prior to that moment in history, this phenomenon did not exist. Really, really rich people had been showing off for a long time, but the idea that masses, millions of people had enough money to buy stuff just to communicate things about themselves was genuinely new. The Industrial Revolution, was a big deal. Okay, so there's one last ingredient in the argument recipe. For social connotation theory to work, it's not enough for Lindsay to know in her own mind that Strongbow means, to turn up, to get lit, to go carousing, to overindulge, to whoop it up. That's not enough. If her purchase of that product is going to communicate to the rest of us something about her, then we also have to know that Strongbow means those things. That Strongbow means a party, a beano, a hooly-hoo. This is all real slang, folks. I know it.
Does this make sense? Come on.
And actually, that's not even enough. In order for her to use Strongbow to communicate something about herself, she has to know that we know that Strongbow means that stuff. It's not enough for her to know something about Strongbow and for us to know something about Strongbow. She has to know something about what we know about Strongbow.
So it's a rational decision because I see there's a constant messaging Red Bull को connect करते हुए adventure sports से. Red Bull is an energy drink, adventure sports, taking risk, living the life. So I know everyone else knows that. So I buy Red Bull and I drink the Red Bull in order to tell everyone that I'm about that life. So it's not emotional manipulation going on. It's actually very rational on my part, with the understanding that this is the constant messaging that people get about Red Bull.
Strongbow. And on top of that, in order for us to know that she's using the drink to communicate something to us, we have to know that she knows that we know that Strongbow means crunk time, or whatever. I'm running out of slang. And maybe this chain of us knowing that they know, that we know, that they know, that we know, maybe this cycle of knowledge of each other's knowledge, maybe this goes on forever. In academic philosophy, this is called common knowledge. It goes back at least to David Lewis's seminal 1969 book, Convention. You don't have to remember that. You just need to know that in order for this theory to work, the idea that, Strongbow cider means or is associated with wild partying, that idea needs to be out there in society, and we have to know that it's out there in society. This will end up being very important to the demonstration that the emotional inception theory is a myth, which is going to happen. The demonstration is coming in like 30 seconds. But first, I think the way I've been presenting things so far is slightly misleading. Really, there are all different sorts of advertisements. Some ads do just present straightforward information about their products, and some ads do seem to contain virtually no information, and of course many actual advertisements do multiple things at the same time. But one of the most common types of advertisement, perhaps the most common type these days, is what I'm going to call the association ad. In these advertisements, what's clearly going on is that the advertiser is trying to get you to associate their product with some idea. And it seems clear that the emotional inception theory and the social connotation theory are really just competing explanations for this specific subspecies of advertisement. Okay, so how can we choose between these two competing theories? Well, in science, perhaps the best way to choose between two theories of the same phenomenon is to use both of those theories to generate predictions, and then see which predictions turn out to be true. For example, with gravity, Isaac Newton was like, gravity is a force of attraction between all bodies. Oh no, here comes the bubonic plague. While we're all quarantining, I'll invent calculus. And 200 years later, Albert Einstein was like, shove it, Newton, massive objects warp spacetime. Gravity is not a force of attraction, it's just a name for the bending of spacetime. How are we going to choose between these two theories? Well, if Einstein is right, then we would expect that light traveling past a very large object will curve due to the warping of spacetime. And you know what's pretty big? The sun. The problem is that the sun is so bright that we can't see right next to it, where its gravity is so strong that we would be able to observe the light from distant stars being curved. But Einstein was like, if we observe the sun during a solar eclipse, when the moon is blocking most of the sun's light, we will be able to measure light curving. Look, that's the best German accent I've got. And that's what we needed, a prediction. And there was a solar eclipse coming up in 1914, so we can just observe the sun during that solar eclipse and test Einstein's theory. But then this guy killed this guy, and so these guys went to war against these guys, and everybody was too busy fighting World War I to observe the solar eclipse. So they had to wait until another solar eclipse in 1919. Oh yeah, the light is curving. That's exactly what you expect based on Einstein's theory. So Newton, how do you like them apples? So now we can do this exact thing with these two theories. They each generate a prediction, and we see which prediction turns out to be right. If the emotional inception theory is correct, then we would expect to find association ads in basically all of the places where advertising happens. Billboards, television commercials, bus stop benches, internet pop-ups, direct mail, door tags, those ads at the top of Google searches that are meant to look like search results but really are paid advertisements. If creating the association between the product and the idea really does do inception on our brains, then that should be equally effective in all of these different places. But if social connotation theory is correct, then we would expect to find association ads only in some places. Why? Well, because social connotation theory relies on common knowledge, and common knowledge only occurs in some of these places. With a Super Bowl advertisement, it's not just that millions of people see the advertisement. Those millions of people also know that everybody else sees the advertisement. That's common knowledge. But with an internet pop-up ad, the advertiser can pay for the same number of people, millions of people, to see the ad, but none of those people know how many other people are seeing the ad. So there's no common knowledge. And according to social connotation theory, association ads only work. They only allow us to communicate things about ourselves if we can be assured via common knowledge that the other people are going to understand what we're doing. So according to this theory, these kinds of ads only work in those advertising contexts where there's common knowledge. Okay, so our two theories generate alternative predictions, and now we just need to look and see which one is correct. Is it true that association ads, appear in all of the different places where there's advertising? Or is it true that association ads only appear in those advertising types that generate common knowledge? Well, let's look at like these door hanger advertisements that I get on my house all the time. They're always ads, packed with information for something like a house that's for sale or air conditioning repair or something like that. It's never an ad for Coca-Cola or Nike. This is exactly what the social connotation theory predicts, because when I go home and find this piece of paper hanging on my door, I can't be confident that like all of my friends also got this same piece of paper on their doors. So this type of ad does not generate common knowledge, can't be used to communicate things about ourselves, and insofar as advertisers know what they're doing, they won't use this form of advertising for association ads. The advertising format that generates the most common knowledge are television commercials appearing during huge sporting events like the Super Bowl or the World Cup. That's because when you see one of those advertisements, you can be confident that millions of other people have also seen those advertisements, and those people also know that you've seen those advertisements. So the next time you watch one of those sporting events, look and see if, as the social connotation theory predicts, a disproportionate number of those ads are association ads as opposed to some other type. The results will be overwhelming. The idea at the heart of social connotation theory is that for many of us, much of the time, buying something is like waving our hands in the air and saying, look at me, I'm this type of person, form your opinion of me based on this product. But here's the thing, if someone is responding to an advertisement by purchasing a product in order to communicate something about themselves, then they are being rational. It's not like they're being, emotionally manipulated or something like that. And speaking of irrational, apparently when the van that they're sleeping in the first level dream falls off the bridge, that affects the gravity in the second level dream with Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the hotel. Okay, but if gravity stuff transfers dream levels, then why doesn't the zero gravity in the second level dream transfer over to the third level dream in the snow fortress? To really bring things to a climax, the two theories that we are comparing not only yield predictions about where we see association ads, they also yield predictions about for which types of products we see association ads. Social scientists have shown that some products, like what car we drive or anything having to do with what music we listen to, communicate more about our identities than some some other products like what dish soap we use. Now, the emotional inception theory yields the prediction that we would see association ads for all different types of products because emotional manipulation, emotional connections, they are all just as possible for Q-tips as they are for sneakers. But social connotation theory yields the prediction that we would see association ads only for those products that other people can see us using. And that is exactly what we find. We see tons of association ads for beer and soft drinks and cars and shoes, but we only see information ads, if we see any ads at all, for detergent or dish soap or bed sheets. I mean, there is a $104 billion market for home bedding, but have you ever, in your life, seen a single advertisement for bed sheets? Also, it is clearly established that you have to be hooked into the dream machine in order to be an active participant in the next level dream. But who do we find in level 4? Saito, who was never hooked in level 3.
Hi, it's me, in my office. If you have a long enough
So you got the idea, all right?
attention span to make it this far in the video,
And so many times I've seen people use this definition of advertising, and that's great. But I align more with this guy or this idea. At the same time, there are certain things that you can say कि जो association ad के base पे can we really come to the conclusion that this is the correct one and this is not the correct one. You can put up some different questions. So any good teacher can make any subject interesting, and I think philosophy is inherently interesting, philosophy, psychology, वगैरह, but these are also extremely horrible. But I would suggest you to watch this video. I suggest everyone to watch this video. Bindra already knows this idea. I don't know if he's here, but anyone who's interested in ethics, morality, I think this is the strongest argument. Iska, I am aware of the opposing argument as well, जो कि Alex O'Connor देता है, but I don't like it as much as I like the original argument. So Peter Singer, ordinary people are evil. So watch this video. It's really good. Okay, it's really interesting. And now I'm fucking off. And good luck for your exam tomorrow. Okay. This video is really interesting. Watch this. Okay. Chalo, I'm fucking off now. I'm so fucking tired. Shivratri. Ah, fuck, I cannot even type, dude. मुझे लगा you guys just fucking slept while watching the video. At least Hume had the decency to tell us that she was leaving. मैं तो अभी भी खाना ही बना रहा. चैट को चाहत पे लिख रहा हूँ मैं, क्या हो रहा है ये? थैंक्स को थैक्स नहीं दी भाई. ओके, दैट्स गुड. चलो, do Malika and watch this video whenever you get the time. Obviously with Telegram, or you can ask me again. But yeah, really important video for people to watch generally in their lives. Chalo, see you guys. Take care. Thanks for joining the stream, and yeah, goodbye. See you tomorrow.